meteorologist Erica Page. Want to bring your attention to something that actually happened earlier in the week, but not necessarily within Earth's atmosphere, though part of our atmosphere may be impacted by this. The Space Weather Prediction Center, which is actually located out in Boulder, Colorado, put out this advisory essentially saying they had an X-class flare, which in terms of all these different kind of solar flares that you can have in the atmosphere, this is a pretty big one. You'll notice their wording. If you look just off to the right, it says it's an eruption of energy, but it's generally not as common, though not necessarily unusual, but it just goes to show you how strong the magnitude of it was. And really where they're concentrated is in this little zone that's just on this far, basically left-hand side of our view of the sun. And basically what's happening is you have these essential kind of thunderstorms, if you want to put it into an equivalent that maybe we could understand a little bit better, that are basically erupting from some of these sunspots that are happening on the surface of the sun. Where you have those, you know you have a lot more of this solar energy that's essentially being let out into the space, and it may impact then Earth's atmosphere. And there's other things that they can impact. Certainly it gives us the better potential to see the auroras, which is usually what we look forward to enjoying, but there are also other disruptions that can happen, especially with our satellites. Think of all the satellites that are orbiting Earth. They have to adjust, especially when you get these really strong pushes of energy coming from the sun, because it does mess with Earth's magnetic, basically atmosphere that kind of protects and surrounds the Earth. But one of the beautiful things and the results of a lot of these big solar storms that can happen in space is that we can have an opportunity to potentially see the northern lights. And earlier this morning, we actually did see our basically levels of how much energy Earth's impact, or Earth's magnetic sphere, was essentially seeing an impact from, basically reach a point where there were a lot of places in the northern Great Lakes that were actually able to pick up on the northern lights. And there is some potential, I don't want to necessarily guarantee it as we continue on into tonight, but there is a potential that if you do look north, and farther north you are, basically looking out over the lake where things are a little bit darker and a little bit quieter, you may be able to see the northern lights once again this evening, headed into the early overnight, if, and that's a big if this solar storm holds on a little bit stronger, because some of the levels that are forecasted, and again, this can change certainly as we go through some of this data, but it would put it potentially at a G3 level storm, which essentially is really what we need here in Northeast Ohio to at least have an opportunity of potentially seeing some of the northern lights here across our area. The one thing that we are going to battle, though, as we head into tonight, is this next system coming in from the west. So there may be some clearing, especially early on, which right now, that's where the forecast gives us the best opportunity of potentially seeing some of these northern lights. But just know you may also be battling some cloud cover. And again, these energy values, they can change, especially as we're continuing to forecast how this basically energy from space is impacting Earth's atmosphere. So wanted to give you the first alert on that. It is possible you can see it. Certainly, if you do capture some great views of the northern lights, the team here would love to see it. You can submit those photos online or on the 19 First Alert weather app. And again, good luck if you're going to get outside and try and view it, because these are kind of somewhat rare events for us here in Northeast Ohio, but we like to treasure them anytime it's possible.